The envelope was waiting for me in the mailbox, crisp and official, like it belonged to a government office instead of some neighborhood busybodies. I tore it open, expecting a utility bill or maybe a county tax notice. Instead, I found a demand from the Willow Creek Homeowners Association for due lot $250,000 in back fees for a ranch my family had owned since 1953. I laughed, figuring it was a prank, until I saw the notarized stamp and the HOA's logo glaring at me. A guy in a white golf cart, a tiny badge dangling from his neck, had shoved it there before speeding off. I crumpled the paper, ready to toss it, when something caught my eye across the field: a shiny new clubhouse, a tennis court, a playground, all gleaming under the Texas sun. My jaw dropped. That wasn't just any land. That was my land. I'm Ethan Hayes, and this is the story of how I took on a greedy HOA that thought they could steal my family's legacy. Willow Creek Ranch, 200 acres of grassland and weathered barns in Jasper County, Texas, had been in my family for generations. My grandfather, Thomas, cleared it with his bare hands, and my dad, Michael, worked it until he passed quietly in his sleep. I come back from Seattle, where I coded software for a levying to settle the estate. I didn't plan to stay, just tidy things up, maybe lease the place, and head back west. But when I drove up that first week, the dirt road was paved, and a gaudy Willow Creek Estate sign stood where our old mailbox used to be. Past the tree lean, where I'd camped as a kid, kids I didn't know swung on colorful swings. Something was wrong. By day 3, a notice was slapped on my barn door. HOA violation: failure to comply with landscaping standards. Landscaping standards? This was a working ranch, not a suburban lawn. I drove to the HOA's prefab office behind the tennis court, where a gum-chewing receptionist handed me a packet of community guidelines. "If you're in Willow Creek, you're in the HOA," she said. "I'm not in Willow Creek," I shot back. "This is Hayes Ranch." She shrugged. "The map says otherwise." That night, I pored over every document I could find: deeds, surveys, county records. By 2 a.m., Google Earth overlays confirmed my worst fear. The HOA's map was a lie. They'd shifted the boundary 200 feet north, swallowing my land to build their fancy clubhouse, courts, and solar-lit paths. Every inch was mine. The next morning, I called the county, and a week later, a surveyor drove a stake into the ground. "This fence is 217 feet off," he said, grinning. "HOA's in for a rough day." I thought that'd be the end of it. I was wrong. The next day, a bulldozer roared into my driveway, a guy in a yellow vest claiming they were clearing for uniform fencing per HOA orders. I yelled, "You're trespassing." He hesitated, radio crackling, as 4 more trucks rolled in with gravel and fencing. I stormed to the HOA office, VYing the door open so hard the bell clanged. "Where's Margaret?" I demanded. Margaret, the red-faced woman in a pink HOA polo who'd threatened me with a due lot $250,000 fine, sipped coffee like she owned the place. I slapped the county survey on the counter. "You built on my land." She didn't blink. "Our map says otherwise. Sue us." Her words were ice, daring me to fight a war I couldn't afford. I was still reeling from probate, scraping by to cover taxes and repairs. The HOA had cash from 200 homeowners and a legal team that could bury me. But I wasn't backing down. I called my uncle, Robert, a retired Navy lawyer. He laughed for 10 seconds straight. "They build on your land and build you? That's the dumbest move I've ever heard." He connected me to Claire, a property rights attorney with a knack for land disputes. She reviewed my documents and grinned through the phone. "Ethan, they messed up big." But the HOA doubled down, mailing a new notice. Due lot $265,000 with a due law $15,000 late fee, plus a demand to remove my cattle within 48 hours or face animal control. I was levyed. They acted like my ranch didn't exist. Following Robert's ad VYC, I played smart. I set up trail cameras, catching every truck, every kid, every HOA contractor crossing my line. Claire sent a cease and desist letter, which they ignored. So we filed a quiet title lawsuit, costing me due law 7000 most of my SAVY NGS. Then, one morning, Margaret and a group of HOA board members showed up with a sheriff, while VYing a pink folder. "We're seizing the property for non-payment," she said. The sheriff, confused, took my file deeds, surveys, filings. His brow furrowed. "This isn't clear-cut, ma'am. No seizure today." Margaret's face turned scarlet, but I could tell she wasn't done. The first court hearing felt like walking into a storm. Claire, armed with a binder, faced off against Margaret, who strutted in like she was running for office. Claire laid it out. "Ethan Hayes owns Hayes Ranch in his family since 1953. The HOA built illegally on his land and demands fees for it." Margaret claimed their modern maps and county permits were valid. Claire fired back. "Those permits used manipulated boundaries." The judge ordered a 30-day re-VYEW and froze HOA actions against me. Outside, Margaret hissed, "You haven't won." I smiled. My lawyer reads deeds. But the harassment didn't stop. HOA members photograph my cows, measure my fences, and one morning, I found my gate padlocked with an HOA jurisdiction sign. I cut it off, filming every second for Claire and the county. Then a reporter from Channel 9 called, wanting my story. I hesitated, and no camera guy but the bulldozers, fines, and padlocks pushed me over. Standing by the fence, I told it all. The illegal buildings, the fake fees, the lawsuit. The story aired, and my inbox exploded. Locals, ex-HOA members, even a city worker shared tales of Willow Creek's strong-arm tactics. One email stood out. "Check the HOA's original permit." I worked in zoning. Something was rushed. Claire and I dug into the records and found a sketchy variance from 3 years ago, signed by an official who resigned under investigation. It was fraud, plain and simple. One night, locking the barn, I heard gravel crunch. A black SUV pulled up, headlights blazing. 2 men in suits stepped out, one handing me an envelope. "State Attorney's Office," he said. Inside was a subpoena. They were investigating the HOA for zoning fraud, illegal land use, and harassment. Claire called at dawn. "They're calling a grand jury, Ethan. You're a key witness." I met the assistant DA, Karen, who showed me complaints from other landowners, some pressure to sell, others unaware their land was taken. "You fought back," she said. "That's why it's you." A former HOA board member, William, called after seeing the news. At a diner, he slid me a flash drive. Margaret used fake maps, claimed they were approved. "This is proof." Claire re-VYEU'd it and whispered, "This proves they forged permits." We sent it to the DA. Then, one morning, I found a rusted hatch in the field hidden by grass. Inside a concrete bunker were crates labeled HOA operations and confidential. I opened one. Fake maps, receipts, cash bundles, and notes marking properties, including mine. I called Claire and the sheriff. "This isn't just fraud," Claire said. "It's racketeering." Forensic teams swarmed, and arrests followed Margaret, the notary, a developer, a city clerk. The ranch became the heart of a statewide probe. The state attorney general asked me to testify in Austin for new land protection laws. I told the story straight, and a senator shook my hand. "You might have changed things for every landowner in Texas." Back home, the HOA's fence was gone, the gate fixed, the fields clear. An interim HOA board sent a formal apology and withdrew all claims. I turned an abandoned plot into a public garden and veterans retreat, naming it Roberts Field after my uncle. But the story wasn't over. A DULA $1.2 million settlement offer came, then a DULA $5.6 million proposal from Redwood Real Estate, tied to Margaret's scheme. I turned them down. This land wasn't for sale, not for golf courses or fountains. It was for cows, dirt, and history. Redwood's accounts were later frozen, their partners indicted. Life settled. I started horseback tours, hosted school trips, and watched veterans share stories under the oak tree. The HOA tried to erase Hayes Ranch, but they made it a legendous symbol of fighting smart, standing firm, and knowing land is more than dirt. It's home.